So just been watching a video called 6 Things You Should Unlearn from Your Driving Test, and we're just going to go over those 6 things now and see if we can help put a bit of light onto them. So the first one is about steering. So let me pull away from here safely. So I'm steering up to the junction here. I'm just going to use a push-pull steering to just feed the steering wheel through. I'm going nice and slow, so if I did cross my arms or whatever, that wouldn't be too bad. It wouldn't be correct, but it wouldn't be ideal. So the thing is, you've got an airbag in the middle of the steering wheel, so you don't really want to have your arms across it when you're going over 20 miles an hour, as I am now. The airbag could deploy if something happens. So to steer around this roundabout here, you're simply going to feed the wheel from one hand to the other. And if you just keep one hand either side the steering wheel without crossing your arms over it, then you'll be absolutely fine and safe. If the airbag does deploy, then it's not going to push your arm up into your face, which could be quite dangerous, really, couldn't it? You don't really want to think about that. And of course, if we come up to a junction where we have to steer a little more, so here's one coming up, then if we go into the junction, get to gear 2 there, and go in at quite a fast speed there with a push-pull steering technique. Let's go a little bit too fast into this one, and you can see there that, you know, we can move the steering wheel quite easily and briskly through our hands. We don't have to be crossing our arms over to steer quickly. It's a bit of a myth, that one. It's just, I think it's an excuse. If you're a bit lazy with the steering, then it's an excuse. You can pretend you're doing it the proper way when you can't be bothered to learn how to push-pull the steering wheel properly. Okay, so an extreme example of the push-pull steering technique would be when we do a 3-point turn or a turn in the road. We no longer do this on the driving test, but it's a real test of your steering skill. If anyone can do this with a proper feeding of the steering wheel, then they've clearly practiced it and mastered it. So I'm going to do a 3-point turn in the road on this road without crossing my arms over. And you can see there, we can get it onto full lock quite easily. Into reverse gear, checking around. You see how you can go from one lock to the other lock without having to cross our arms over and feed straighten the steering wheel back up again there. It works. If you practice it, it works. If you don't practice it, then you can make up excuses as to why it doesn't work. Okay, so mirror checks. On the YouTube video that I've referred to, they make a bit of a point about mirror checks. So let's just work out why we're checking our mirrors. So we're checking the middle mirror there to know what's going on behind us. That's all that middle mirror does, doesn't it? And the 2 side mirrors are when we need to know what's going on either side of us. So if I was turning into the junction on the right over here, I'd need to know what's going on beside me before I turned across, wouldn't I? Any safe person would be curious. So before you're turning right, you'd want to make sure what's on your right hand side. So let's just check our mirrors, indicate to the right there because we're turning right. Now on the video, the poor young fella there sits there checking all of his mirrors and everything else before he pulls out the junction. Well, no, I've already checked the mirrors, because all I've got to do now is check both ways, make sure we're safe to go. And it was, so I did. So here I'm going to turn right at this junction as well. So I'm going to check the middle mirror, the right mirror, signal to the right, because I need to position my car to the right there. And I'm very interested if there's anyone alongside me before I do that. I don't want to squish any cyclists or motorcyclists. And then it's just a case of waiting for the junction to come clear and then turning out. I don't need to sit there and check my mirrors again. It's a good idea to check your mirror there, the middle mirror, as you join a new road, just so you know what's going on behind you. But other than that, we're pretty safe. And then when we go around parked cars and around things, we check that right mirror just to make sure nobody's next to us. Okay, so we talk about speed being your enemy. Well, we want to do the appropriate speed for the road that we're on, don't we? So here I've got some parked cars, so I'm going to check the mirror, go around the parked cars. Simple enough. Because I'm reasonably close to parked cars, I'm not doing 30 miles an hour here. I'm a little bit under, about 26, 27, which is fine. Got pedestrians about as well. And then when the road straightens up, then yeah, we want to make progress, don't we? We want to get up to speed. We are encouraged in our driving test not to go slow, but to do the appropriate speed. And if you've forgotten that since your test, then you need to remind yourself of it, that we're just simply keeping up with the flow of traffic. Speed limits are there for a reason. We're not going to go above a speed limit, because then we're going faster than the flow of traffic. So we're just simply keeping up with the flow of traffic. And when it comes to a road like this, we're not constantly staring at our speedometer. We simply get a feel for what sort of speed we're doing, with the occasional glance down at the speedometer being quite sufficient. So nice brisk push-pull steering there for the roundabout. Yeah, easy enough. So yes, I'm not staring at my speedometer. I know that I'm going below 30 around here because I've been driving long enough to know that. And now as I'm building my speed up, there's a school there, but it's a weekend. So as I build my speed up, then I can glance down at the speedometer, and I can have another glance down at it if I wish to, but I'm not going to stare at the speedometer. Nobody on their driving test stares at their speedometer, so I wouldn't recommend doing it after you've passed your driving test either. So speed is not the enemy. We do need to do the appropriate speed. So here I've got a nice easy straight piece of road. So if I keep the speed to about 30 miles per hour, then I'm keeping up with the flow of traffic and I'm keeping quite safe. And then if I see any danger coming up, so we've got a narrowing of the road coming up ahead, then I can always slow down a little if needed. I can see quite well there, and just deal with the obstructions as they come up. Okay, so there's an obstruction, so I'm just going to slow right down into gear 1, through the gap. Right then, so I'm just coming up to some traffic lights. May well have to stop at these, so I'm just going to check my mirrors and signal for a left turn. Come into a stop. So I've brought the car to a stop in a safe place, so I'm just going to place it into neutral. I'm going to put the handbrake on, and I can just rest my feet off the pedals there. You see the car in front, they've just taken their foot off the pedal, but if they was keeping their foot on their pedal, then we'd have the red light in our eyes there. I can easily put the clutch down now, the lights have changed, check my mirrors, find the biting point as I'm pulling away there. It doesn't take any longer. Once you've got the skill to do it, then you can pull away quite briskly, even if you've got your handbrake on. So let's see that again. So we've got a set of traffic lights coming up. They're red at the moment, so I'm just checking the rear view mirror, bringing the speed down. The lights have gone green in fact, so I'm just going to go straight into gear number 1 in anticipation for keeping the car moving. We've actually come to a stop, but there's no need to put the handbrake on because we're only going to be stopped for a few seconds. We'd only put the handbrake on if we were stationary for a length of time, so as not to be showing our red lights to the vehicle behind, particularly on an overcast day like today. So I'm just going to keep to the left lane here, so check the left mirror. And I'm going left at the roundabout, so it's left first exit, indicating left. Approach into gear number 2. Okay, so I've stopped at the roundabout. I'm not going to put the handbrake on here because I'm looking for gaps in the traffic. I can see a gap there already that I can take. If I was waiting there for a length of time, I could have applied the handbrake, but I felt there was no need to on that occasion. Certainly if you've just come up to a red traffic light, it's only just changed red, then you'd be thinking of putting the handbrake on. Or if you pull up to the end of the road, you can see a long way both ways, and you can see loads of traffic coming both ways. Maybe you'd pop the handbrake on there as well. So it's what I was taught when I was taught to drive, was that when a pause becomes a wait, we put the handbrake on. So if you're just pausing at the end of a junction, or pausing because you're letting some traffic through, then you certainly don't need your handbrake on for those. Okay, and see here, I don't need to flash my lights. I can just simply stop, make eye contact with that black car there. There we go, let them through. It was not up to me whether it was safe. It was up to me to stop and look at them. It was up to them to judge that it was safe. I didn't need to put them under any pressure to pull away by flashing my lights at them. I just simply needed to stop and give them the opportunity to pull away, and that's exactly what I did. If I'd have given them the opportunity to pull away and they pulled out and took out a motorcyclist that was overtaking me, for example, then if I'd flashed my lights, I would have been implicated in that. If, however, I was just sitting there making eye contact with them, it's up to them to check that it's safe before they pull away. And if they had an accident, maybe somebody overtaking me, then it would have been solely their problem, not my problem. Okay, so flashing our headlights is something that's talked about in the video. So it's a way of warning people of our presence. Flashing our headlights, it's similar to sounding the horn, which is something that we are allowed to do, of course. It's what we're trying not to do is confuse people by flashing our headlights, intimidating people by flashing our headlights. So looking at speed, we want to keep up with flow of traffic. So on a 40-mile-per-hour road here, so I'm simply keeping with the flow of traffic, and which is in fact ended up in second gear at the moment. So speed is not the enemy. Speed is something that we use, and if I was going too slow, then that would be almost as dangerous as going too fast, wouldn't it? If I'm going a lot slower than the flow of traffic, people will feel inclined to overtake me, and that's creating a level of danger that simply need not be there. If I was keeping up with the flow of traffic and driving appropriately, then I could have removed that level of potential danger. So on a 40-mile-per-hour road at the moment, which is just opening out a little bit, we've got some traffic lights in front, and I'm simply just keeping up with the flow of traffic in front of me. And we've got quite a lot of traffic today, so it don't look like we're going to get it very close to 40 on this particular road. Coming back down into a 30 zone now, in fact, so I'm just checking the speed, keeping guys in front at a safe distance in front of me. That's more important than going too fast. Okay, so we just come to a stop at a set of traffic lights. Probably going to be here for a little while, so I'm just going to put the handbrake on and pop the car into neutral. It allows the stop-start to stop the engine for me as well, which saves a bit of diesel, which is a good thing. And by having the handbrake on, I'm just a little bit more secure. If a car hits me from behind, the car's not going to go anywhere, which is good to know. And it doesn't inconvenience me at all, because I'm an experienced driver. I can easily pop the car back into gear, take the handbrake off as I'm pulling away. It's quite an efficient thing to do once you've practiced it a bit. Sitting here with my foot on the foot brake would be fine as well. There's a queue of traffic behind me, but I would be showing my brake lights to that queue of traffic behind me. So here we go, and we're pulling away nice and easily. So again, we've got a red traffic light, so I'm just bringing the car to a stop, safe distance from the car in front, and I'm going to apply the handbrake. Just secures the car. If I get hit from behind, the car's not going anywhere, which is good to know. See the car in front, they've got their foot on their foot brake, which is fine. Just meant they were showing their red lights to me. I've pulled away just about as quick as they have. And the fact they were showing their red lights to me, not a major issue. But when it's dark, it can get a little bit annoying, and that's why we try not to do it. So again, I'm stopped at some red lights, got the handbrake on. I can try and predict the flow of traffic. I can in fact see the traffic lights over on the side there, so I can see the green light that the cars on my left have got. So I can predict when my light's going to go green just by a bit of forward planning here. And that'll just help me get into gear that little bit sooner. So there we can see their lights changing, so I'll just put the clutch down into gear 1, and now I'm ready to go. Check the mirrors and pull away nice and efficiently. So on a 40-mile-per-hour road here, absolutely no reason to be doing less than 40, so I'm building the speed up to 40. So speed is not the enemy. If I was going along here at 20 miles an hour, I would be no safer. In fact, I'd be more dangerous, because everybody behind me would be looking to overtake me, and that would be creating a level of danger that simply need not be there. I don't need to keep looking down at the speedometer, and if I do take a look at the speedometer, it can be just a little glance. Certainly not staring at the speedometer. Now obviously I know in the video they show somebody staring at their speedo for a length of time. Well, if you watch it carefully, they actually had to slow the video down to achieve that. Nobody's going to stare at their speedometer for that length of time. That's not something you need to unlearn from your driving test. That's just common sense really, isn't it?